So let's just get started. I'm going to go to bank transactions. And so we're going to be doing September. So we'll be doing September through January books. But again, I always like to reconcile month by month to make sure that every single month is good to go before I decide to move on. So I'm going to go ahead and type in September, as that's the next. Alrighty, so we have our first Chase payment here, and we can go to our documents, amortization schedule. Payment date is 9/1, so this is the 9/1 payment, and it is 36.55 in interest, and the rest is going towards principal. So we can go to our bank transactions, type in Chase Bank as our vendor, type in split, interest expense, and then we're going to pick our loan account here as well. 36.55. Alrighty. And our difference is zero, checks out. If let's say you didn't have it at zero, it won't let you apply it. So just keep that in mind. Chase payment to landlord. This one is good as well. But obviously, see, even though it's green and it thinks for some reason it's suggesting this is a match, we need to make sure that we're setting it up correctly. So this is going to be rent. Okay, so the next one we have here is dry signs. So we can look this up real quick and you see I already Googled it out of curiosity. So just by what I'm seeing, it seems like this is one of those signs that you buy to put into the, restroom to remind employees to wash their hands after they use a restroom. So we're gonna go ahead and put dry signs in, and we can add an account here if we really think we don't have one. But let's go back and just see if we can find an account that makes sense to us in the operating expenses. Advertising, it's not really advertising, right? Small kitchen tools and supplies. Insurance, electric, water, bank processor fees, dues and subscriptions, office supplies, payroll, interest expense, repairs and maintenance might be an option. But here we're going to put this into office supplies as I think the best category for this because it's, not as if it can be put into signage fixed assets because it's not like a big sign. You probably, you know, imagine it's just a piece of paper that's formal or like framed. So we're going to put this into office supplies. And we have our first sales tax payment here on the 1st of September. So let's go ahead and select the Texas Comptroller of Texas. Oh, we already have a Comptroller of Texas. There we go. And then we put sales tax and we put sales tax liability in there. And so this is this is one of those transactions where I'd say, you know, we'll come back to this later, but this is how you would book a sales tax payment. You'd put it towards sales tax liability. And we're going to see that it looks weird on the balance sheet later. And I'm going to explain to you that we're going to wait until the end to figure out how to solve this. Because right now we're just focused on putting the transactions in the right account. So the sales tax due is going to be booked towards the sales tax liability account. And then you're going to hit add. Okay, so we have our first couple rules. We can review these. Square, cafe sales, figure eight, coffee and bean supply costs. These look good. Like there was a Google expense. I'm going to type in Google. Let's add this vendor. And we're going to select dues and subscriptions. And the reason I'm selecting dues and subscriptions here is because the $2 wasn't for ad spend. It was probably for some type of subscription. Again, if you need to get the clarification, you can ask the client or you can figure it out yourself looking at a receipt. But dues and subscription is where I'd land this, unless you knew this was for like you were testing $2 in ads for some reason. Then you would put it in advertising. So then you have Square, Whole Foods, Austin Utilities, and it's suggesting the correct match. Central Insurance suggesting the correct match. So I'm going to go ahead and accept all 4 of these. Creature Coffee Co. And supply costs, add that. Gonna have a good couple of matches here to burn through. Equipment rental, HEB, square. Go ahead and select all of these. Accept these. Super thin coffee roasters. Save that vendor. Coffee and bean supplies was a good suggestion. Add that. Target, Whole Foods, those. ZTLLC. And if we look up ZTLLC just to double check what it could be, you'll see it's an organic company, organic tea company. So this is actually weirdly enough, this is going to be a coffee and beans and supply cost because it falls under the exact same category. So you can throw it under here. If you really wanted to create another line item, then you can. But let's say this is like a one-time purchase. They're just trying like a tea out. And unless the owner really wants to separate their tea income from their coffee income at that level, we don't need to do that. We just need to put it in the same category that matches what that spend was for. So the tea purchase will go here. Square, HEB dairy costs, cafe sales, those are all good. Gonna hit accept. Sixth Street Printing. So this is a printing company. And in this scenario, because we don't have employees, we're not going to assume this is like a uniform cost, right? We're going to assume this is merchandise cost, that they're buying merchandise to sell. And, in the context that you're the owner and you know that you spent money on merchandise here, you would pick that. If you needed to figure it out, you needed to make sure maybe it was for flyers or something like that, then maybe you would want to go and put it towards advertising. But in this case, I know that I'm buying merchandise that I'm going to sell. Where cafe sales, dairy and grocery costs, cafe sales, paper cups and goods, dairy and grocery cost. This is a correct suggestion. Okay, everything looks good here. So you can see that there's a Square transaction, but for some reason we had to spend $1.08. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this into bank and processor fees. This is a valid suggestion. And again, I review the rules just because it's good practice to, if you're really confident, um, because a lot of these descriptions that are coming through are descriptions that I wrote up, right? So these are all very sanitized descriptions. And what you get from the bank statement is not going to look like that sometimes. So sometimes it's really hard to create rules that will consistently work. So it's always good to check your rules because sometimes if they're too broad, you can have issues where you're accidentally adding a transaction into a expense that you shouldn't be, into a category that you shouldn't be. Okay, so we have only 12 items left here, so I'm going to finish up the rules first so I can make this list feel a lot smaller. Looks good, looks good, looks good. We're going to accept these. Yelp, going to be advertising. Print Austin. Actually, yes, I can bulk edit these. Let's do that. And let's say these are flyers, right? I'm going to say these are flyers for what I purchased. So for Print Austin, we're going to say it's advertising. And Chase Transfer, this is something that we can set up as a rule because we know 5,000 is the monthly amount for now. If it changes, then obviously that rule would have to be updated or you'd have to create a new rule. But we know, and we want to kind of set some rules for the regular transactions that are going to happen. So we're going to say owner payment, labor payments contains transfer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the amount is $5,000 because I know not 50,000, 5,000. And we can test this rule and that matches. So every single month he's been paying himself 5,000. We've been paying ourselves 5,000. And we're going to say the payee is me. And the category is not rent, obviously. It's going to be wages for the payroll. So it's really good to check these before you just assume they're filled out correctly and move on. But yes, so this would be kind of the rule and the way we're going to set up. And we're going to hit save. And we're going to accept this. All right, so that's 1 out of the 5 months knocked out. Let's go to our documents, get our ending balance for September, which is 1,572. I always like copying and pasting because I can't seem to remember the number perfectly every time, and it's easier to copy paste than it is to constantly keep flipping back and forth between your two tabs. Okay, so we have our statement ending balance, and we did the month of September. So September 30th, 22 is the month that we're reconciling. Hit start. Looks like we're good to go. All of the transactions are selected. We can hit finish now. Alrighty, so we're gonna go back to our transactions. We're gonna go ahead and do 10/1, 22 to 10/31, 22. We're gonna set our vendor as Chase Bank, and we're gonna hit split. We'll put interest expense in our category. We'll go ahead and set this up before we go and get our amortization schedule to fill in the amounts. And you can say interest paid here, right? And then principal paid. To our amortization schedule, we will see the payment for October 1st will be $35.59, and that is our principal payment. Obviously, I did not remember that number correctly. It is $35.59. There we go. Alrighty, hit apply and accept. Got that one knocked out. All right, so we have our sales tax, and we can try to set up a rule here. Sales tax due. So let's test this rule because we know we're going to be paying sales tax every month, right? And here it says there's only 2 unreviewed transactions. So this is obviously not going to be the same name that happens every single time. So let's shave this down a little bit, see if this works. That doesn't seem it. Shave it down a little more. Looks like it'll apply to 11, which is right around, since we've already done a couple months, this is right around what we need it to be. So let's go ahead, check our expense, sales tax liability, controller, good to go, hit save. That way we got this done, right? Chase payment to landlord. We're going to put Chase, not Chase, sorry. The Chase payment to landlord is our landlord, LLC. And now I'm remembering, maybe I didn't do that correct last time. I think I might have accidentally put Chase Bank in there. Let's go ahead and book this to rent. And what I'm going to go do is categorized. I need to reset my date filter because I was looking at October only. And in the description, I know landlord is going to be in there. So, all right, just double check that my payees are all landlord LLC. Good to go there. And what I'm going to do also here is, and this is, we're seeing all of the months here. So what I'd like to do real quick is go ahead and create a rule, landlord payments, because we know the description is going to say payment to landlord. And what we can do is, just in case, we can shave this down, test the rule, applies to 11, good to go. lease expenses, rent, landlord LLC. Good to save that rule, right? And we have all of these. And I know it seems tempting to kind of accept all of these, and we can, but I want to do the first 6, 7 months with good practice before we get into doing things really quickly. So let's go ahead and reset our date range to 10/1/22, 10/31/22. Apply. I'm going to go ahead and accept this sales tax due. ESC Service Works Austin. Let's see what this is. So it looks like they're equipment repair. So we're going to go here. We're going to say CSC Service Works. And then here we can put repairs and maintenance. And what we can do is, yeah, this is what we can do is we can always check our list to see if there's anything that, could go into here that's better. Uh, and maybe if, these types of equipment repairs are pretty common, then maybe we create our own line item for it. But looks like this is a $2 charge, something menial for now. So we're going to just put it into repairs and maintenance. You're going to hit add. We have Google and the dues and subscription work because this looks like a monthly charge for something like Google Voice. Got a couple of rules here, which all look good. Yelp. You see how it picked it for a second. It had the right one there, but it for some reason doesn't want to do that anymore. We're going to go to Yelp advertising. Central Market, dairy costs, it's a good ones there. Easy Ice Equipment Rental, Square Sales, Amazon, Office Supplies, Central Market, Dairy and Grocery. These looks good. And then see this recommended one is just an uncategorized asset, so that one is bad, so we shouldn't accept that with its recommendation. And accept all of those, and then we should get to Chase Bank uncategorized asset. And it looks like it was a fee of $15, so it's going to go to bank and processor fees. We have our rule for our monthly payments to ourselves, paying ourselves for the time that we spend in the cafe. Sprouts. Dairy and grocery costs. Good to go there. Got a couple more rules to finish out. Good to go. We're going to go and reconcile. And we can go ahead and say 10/31/22 before we go and pull our balance. Go here and pull our balance for the end of October. So we'll go to the October bank statement here and pull this closing balance. Start reconciling. All of the transactions selected. Looks like we're good to go on the rec. Let's hit finish now, and we're going to move on. In the next month, which is 11/1. Forgot that that's that thing there. Okay. Chase payment, Chase Bank. Go ahead and hit split to interest expense, which is our principal. Go to our documents, find the transaction for November. The interest is 34.63. Zero difference, good to go. We have a rent payment here of 1,250, which is good. Sales tax payment, good. Square, which is good. Waterfall, paper goods and cups. Whole Foods, these are good. Let's go ahead and set up some rules here now, because it seems like we'll be having Yelp pretty regularly. So let's create a rule. Yelp, Yelp advertising expense. Test that rule. Good to go. Let's set up a rule for Google as well. Description contains Google. Let's test this. 10 and applied. And this is going to go under dues and subscriptions. Yeah. Make sure this auto add isn't checked. So save. All right. So now we have a new one that's receiving money and it's from Venmo. So the kind of so what we're going to do here is, as an owner, I'll kind of tell you what the story behind this transaction is. But if you don't know what it is, you kind of need backup for this, right? So if you have a Venmo and this is all it says, and typically when you do have a real bank transaction with Venmo, it looks very plain like this. It doesn't tell you all the details. It might tell you some of the details, but it won't tell you what it's for example, right? So you would need to, have reach out and get a screenshot of what the payment was for or understand what it was for so that you can accurately record it. But in this case, I'm going to say that I only sell merchandise through Venmo for whatever reason it might be, right? Maybe it's just easier that way. Maybe you know, let's say there's different tiers on the Square. So if you have too many products on Square, it forces you to upgrade to the next one. So it's easier to just sell on Venmo, if that makes sense. For whatever the reason is, Venmo, in the case of Prithvi, my cafe, is going to be for merchandise sales. So we're finally going to get to use the merchandise sales. And we're going to create a rule. If it's Venmo, then it's merch sales. Let's test this rule, see. There's 33 unreviewed transactions. We're good to go there. You can hit save. And so sometimes this payee doesn't populate. It's just a glitch. If you have a rule set up, it'll have the payee there. So let's review. These are good. It recommended a match for Austin Utilities last time, but now it's not. So let's go ahead and create a rule so that we can stop having to type it every time. Utilities. There we go. Everything looks good. Let's test this. 10 more. That's good. Once per month. Central Insurance Agency, also the same thing for some reason. Test that real quick just to make sure it looks good to go. Insurance. All right. Got a couple of monthly transactions now that we've got ruled. This is good, 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 good. Sixth Street Printing. Remember, this was merchandise that we bought before. Go. Go ahead and see if there's more transactions like this real quick. 2 more, so not too many, but let's go ahead and add that merchandise purchase. Everything looks good. Central Market, dairy and grocery costs. Go ahead and create a rule. Test that. Yeah, that'll be very helpful in the future. All right. Now we got a lot of rules doing some work for us. Let's go ahead and set up a rule for this too. Here's maintenance. Save that. Wow, we got a whole 50 transactions worth of rules. So let's go through just real quick, scroll through. Again, if you're paranoid, you can click in here and just check to make sure that it's giving you the vendor, which it is. All right, looks good. All 50 are good to go. We're going to hit Accept. And then we have a bunch more of these. And another banking fee. Go ahead and hit add there. Keep looking through these. This one looks good. All right, all of these look good. Got November taken care of, so let's go and reconcile it. 30, not 31 days. What are documents, bank statements? Trying to find November. Okay, closing balance. Start reconciling. Alrighty, all of the transactions are selected. $0 difference. We're good to go. All right, we got a couple more months to power through. Let's just keep going through it and let's take care of this. And this is part of it, right? Part of it is literally learning how to take breaks, learning how to make your work more efficient. Because let's say we went through and we never set up roles. How much longer would this video have been just to sit through and keep picking each one and going through each one? So again, I think if you have questions on specific transactions that you think maybe I should put a rule or maybe I shouldn't, then you know that's a good time to ask or, test it out and see if it'll be worth your time or not. Chase Bank, this one, oh, we're splitting this transaction. No principal. That's the description. Alrighty, let's go into our amortization schedule. We are in November, or we just finished November? Yeah, so this is the December 1st transaction. Interest is 33.66. Difference is 0. Good to go. Let's hit apply and accept. All right. Landlord payment 1250 looks good. Sales tax liability looks good there. Square looks good. Yelp is advertising. Google is dues and subscriptions. Sales tax, Amazon. Utilities Co. Yes. Central Insurance. Yes. Market. Merchandise sales here. Whole Foods. HEB. Cafe sales. Okay. These 50 look good. All right, we have a Chase Bank here, which is bank fees. We're at the end of December. I forgot I did not set my date range, so we are seeing more than we should be seeing right now. All right, there we go. A couple left here. Good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and reconcile. I'm going to go to our bank statements again, find the December statement. So the December statement is 1,687.58. I hit start reconciling. $0 difference looks beautiful. Let's hit finish now. All right. Back. Alrighty, so change of plans. December was going to be the last month because now I'm thinking about it and having a year's worth of transactions, from July to December will be better than looking at 1 month over into 23 and trying to look at it there. So now let's go and look at our reports and kind of look at what we've done now that we've categorized everything and we have reconciled everything. So we know all the transactions are good to the bank statement. So now we can go and see if we have to make any corrections or what we're looking at in terms of how the reports look.